Today we're going to be looking at how to make merchandise that makes money, and this video is for all musicians that want to make their own merch but don't know how to do it. Now before I go any further, my name's Sean Letang and this video is brought to you by the Pro Musician Academy, the #1 resource you need if you want to make a full-time income from your music career. Alright, so before we actually look at how you press up your merchandise, let's get one thing clear. If you want to do merch, you need to make sure you have a good design, because you can't just put out any kind of merchandise there. Say for example, put your name on a t-shirt, put your own face on a t-shirt. This is good for bigger musicians, but when you're first starting out, you need a much better design than this. So as I mentioned, don't make the design around your name. Instead, what you want to do is you want to make a t-shirt that people can actually relate to, so even if they never heard of you as a musician, they can still look at it and say, yeah, that's a good t-shirt. So an example of something you can put on is maybe a slogan. I personally like Hollow Da Don's t-shirt, and it says loyalty over money, and that's his slogan. And the thing is, even if you don't relate to him personally, you may relate to that statement and you might want to get one of those t-shirts. The next thing I'll say is, you want to use a professional designer when it comes to making up your idea, and the reason for this is because if it doesn't look good, no one is going to buy it. There are plenty of t-shirts out there that are made every single day, and they use simple fonts, simple designs, and the thing is, merchandise like that, it does not stand out from the crowd, and you simply won't make sales. So unless you can design well yourself, and even if you feel you can but you're not a professional, I suggest you hiring someone else. One place you can get good designs made for relatively cheaply is Upwork.com, and this is the website that I use for nearly all of my designs. So you can go on Upwork.com, you simply submit a job, and within literally 24 hours, you will get a lot of really good designers coming back to you, showing you their work and letting you know that they want to work for you. So now we know you need a good design and you know where to actually go and get that design made, let's look at how to actually press up your merchandise. There are two main ways you can do this. First of all, you can do something called print on demand. And the second option is bulk pressing up your t-shirt or whatever kind of merchandise that you want to make. Now if you're not sure what these two things are, let me explain. The first of these two is print on demand, and what that basically is you go to the print on demand website, you submit your design, and you basically promote these t-shirts wherever you can. And every single time you get an order, what happens is that order goes directly to the print on demand store, and from there what they do is they press up that single order. So every time you get an order, what this company does is press it up, send it out, and deal with everything else. All you need to do is collect the payment and get the traffic. So before we look at the next way of pressing up your t-shirts, what I want to do is give you the pros and cons of print on demand. Now one of the main pros is that it's very little upfront cost to you. All you need to do is get the design made, and that's more or less literally it. You will also have to spend some money on your website or Shopify if you haven't got those already, but other than that, it's really cost effective. Another pro is there is no storage space needed. So it's not a case of they're going to bulk press up your merchandise and you got to store it in your house or a warehouse. Everything is literally handled by the print on demand company. So they only make your t-shirts as and when they're ordered, so you don't have to deal with literally any stock at all. On the other hand though, there are a couple of cons. One of those being that sometimes returns and refunds, they're not done very well. A lot of the time what you're going to have to do is swallow up the cost of refunds, because these print on demand companies don't generally accept returns. So if someone's really not happy with your t-shirt, not only are you going to have to refund them, but generally, unless you want them having your home address, they're not going to send back that t-shirt to you. Now of course you can deal with that side of things yourself, so say for example on your website you can mention if you want to return a t-shirt and get a refund you need to send it back, but again, do you really want people having your home address? So this isn't ideal because you're going to be left with a bunch of t-shirts which are refunded, but as long as you don't have too many refunds, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. You may just be able to swallow the cost if you're making enough money from the t-shirts that people do like. Another con of print on demand is it's a lot harder to sell it in person. So say for example you want to sell your merchandise at gigs, it's not like you can have a physical t-shirt and you can sell them all. A way around this is actually ordering these yourself from the print on demand website, but as you will see, it's not going to be very cost effective doing it like this. So now we know what print on demand is, let's look at the alternative, and that alternative is pressing it up in bulk. Now I'm not talking about you pressing it up yourself because obviously that's going to be very expensive, but you can get a company that would do this for you. They will literally make all your merchandise, and that's done via an upfront fee from you. Here are the pros and cons of pressing up merch in bulk. The first pro is it's a lot more cost effective. While print on demand is great in a lot of ways, it's a lot more expensive. So it may cost you $10 to press up them t-shirts, and even though you only pay that money when someone actually makes an order, it's still quite a bit of money for a t-shirt. In addition to this, most pressing plants actually give you a bulk discount, so the more merchandise you press up, the cheaper it will be for each unit. The next pro is something you can't do with print on demand merch, and that's bring it to live shows. Because as you've actually pressed up this merchandise, you can bring it wherever you go. So you can actually show people what your t-shirt or what your mug or what your whatever merch you make will look like, and you'll have a much better chance of making a sale. On the other hand though, one of the biggest cons is that if you don't sell the merchandise that you press up, you're left with a lot of excess stock. So say for example you pressed up 100 sweatshirts, and now let's say for argument's sake you only sold 20 of them. Of course everyone thinks they're going to sell 100, why wouldn't you believe that? But it doesn't always work like that. So you've got 80 left that you haven't sold, those are going to be sitting with you, they're not going to make the money back that you spent on them. So you might actually end up in a negative figure. Not only that, but you have a lot in stock, so you're going to have to actually store these somewhere. And unless you want to give them out or you got a separate place where you can store them, you're most likely going to have to store them in your house. So now you know the pros and cons of both print and demand and bulk pressing up your merchandise, let's look how you can actually get your print and demand merchandise made. One of the two main ways is using a combination of a shopping cart and a print and demand website. So two examples of print and demand website are Printful and Printify. And both of these pretty much do the same job, but they're just different companies and have different kind of merchandise you can make. In addition to using one of these two print on demand websites, you're also going to want to use a shopping cart. So you can either go with Shopify if you want it self-hosted, if you haven't got your own website already, or alternatively, if you already use WordPress, you can use WooCommerce. The other option is using a website like Teespring or Redbubble, and these take a lot less setting up because they're kind of all-in-one solution. Now the downside to these is you don't have as much merchandise that you can customize. That said, it's still a very good option if you just want to do something quick. Now me personally, I like the first method, using something like Printful with something like Shopify. It takes a bit more setup, but you get a lot more control, you get a lot more merchandise types, and it's just a general better shopping experience for your customers. If on the other hand you want to make some cheaper merchandise and you don't mind paying the money up front, here's how to press up merch in bulk. Now I want to start out by saying that if you go this route, most likely you're going to want to use a company in your country, and that's because it's going to be a lot cheaper when it comes to shipping cost. And because it's going to vary depending on which country you are, I'm not going to recommend any companies to do this. Instead, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do your own research. So you go to google.com and search custom mugs, custom t-shirts, custom hoodies, or custom whatever you want to make. And from there you can start to filter down results and you'll get a much better idea of the companies that can do this that are in your area. And when I say area, I don't necessarily mean you have to be in your city or your state, but just generally in your country. An additional tip is you might actually want to mention your country in the search. So say for example, Custom Pens New Zealand, Custom Pens London, that kind of thing. Make sure you check out all the reviews in these companies, and when you find one or two that seem suitable, order a test pressing. Because the last thing you want to do is press up a whole bunch of merchandise and it doesn't even look very good. So that's how you as a musician can make merchandise that makes money. If you found this helpful, not only be sure to like and subscribe and click the notification button, but be sure to check out ProMusicianAcademy.com. This is literally the ultimate resource for anyone that wants to do music professionally. And when I say professionally, I mean make it full time and do this as your sole job. So check out ProMusicianAcademy.com, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and be sure to click the notification button to be informed when new videos are out. I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to share this with your friends.